It's now been 3 months since the US strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, and it's not been in the news much lately. So I decided to buy some satellite imagery and take a look. Are they rebuilding these sites? And the real big question is still, what happened to Iran's highly enriched nuclear material? The view a lot of people believe is that it was still in these facilities, especially Fordow, and now it's buried deeply under the rubble. So let's take a look and see if there are any signs of attempting to extract it. And while the risk of nuclear weapons is a potential one, today's sponsor Excavating solves a problem that affects all of us, often without us even knowing it: our personal data being sold online. You know those endless spam calls, junk emails, and creepy targeted ads? They are courtesy of data brokers. Shady companies that collect and sell everything from your full name, address, phone number, and email to sensitive stuff like your health information, political beliefs, and even financial details. And in the US, people search sites make it worse by publishing your profile for anyone to find, leading to risks like identity theft, stalking, harassment, or scammers targeting your family. And that's where Excavating comes in. They handle it all automatically, issuing removal requests, handling any objections, and repeating the process constantly to keep your data off the market. Plus, it's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can cancel anytime. So if you're tired of your data being exploited, head over to the link in the description and use my code CABAL for an exclusive 60% off their annual plan. Protect yourself and your family today. It's worth it. Also, real quick, I want to say sorry for the long delay in videos. In the last month, I've moved, so real busy. Then also not having internet for a week while they had to install new lines at my new place. So really, thank you for continuing to watch and stick around. Also, I started work on this video well over a month ago, so since it's been so long, I had time to buy an extra set of satellite imagery. So at least you get that added benefit. But enough of me. So, real quick, I don't want to drag it out, but as a refresher, on the 22nd of June 2025, the US carried out its strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. 2 buried deep underground, which required specialized bombs dropped by the B-2 bombers flying overhead, and then the 3rd using long-range cruise missiles hitting the above-ground buildings. Now, for the sake of time and satellite imagery cost, and the 3rd being less interesting and important, we're just going to focus on the 2 underground sites. First up, Natanz. Natanz began construction in 2000, as we can just barely see here in these low-resolution Landsat images. It was just a few above-ground buildings for their pilot program, but as you could tell by the perimeter wall and the disturbed ground, they were already planning much more. Over the next few years, they began work on building massive underground facilities, which we're lucky enough to be able to see in this image on Google from 2003. This image is awesome, as we can see the shafts being built into the facility and then covered, even larger vehicle ramps to enter the underground complex that then less descript buildings have been erected to hide them from view. But more importantly, we can see exactly where the 2 main structures are and then overlay them with the post-strike imagery. Only one B-2 bomber dropped its 2 bombs on Natanz, and there's only one obvious impact point in the post-strike imagery. It's not in the center of the building, but it's right near where we could see a structure protruding in 2003 when it was being built, so possibly a ventilation shaft. There's also another spot that's less pronounced on the northwest structure, almost right in the center of it. Again, it's not verified, but it would make sense to strike both structures. Also, since Natanz is not as deeply buried underground as Fordow, just 1 bomb for each might have been considered enough. You can also see a dirt trail that wasn't there before appear after the strikes, and then in subsequent imagery from August to September, it increases. This indicates Iran is possibly addressing this spot. But back to the main, obvious impact point, a month after the strike, you can see some signs of work being done. But since then, as of last week, nothing. No obvious signs of additional movement or ground disturbance. Same with the areas for construction vehicles, storage, parts, just minimal change. In fact, the entire facility shows very little activity over the past 3 months. They've not made any repairs to power or support buildings that Israel struck in the weeks before. Even a lot of the debris is still in the exact same spot it landed. So evidence seems to point that Iran simply is assessing the damage in the weeks after the strike, maybe even trying to salvage any equipment or material, but giving up pretty quickly due to the lack of further activity. But of course, this is not definitive. They might instead be focusing on the new facility that they're building just a mile to the south, and this one is built into a mountain, like Fordow, and therefore much more secure. And reportedly, this site has been seeing more activity recently, which brings up Fordow. Fordow is a monster built deep inside a mountain. It's pretty much the ultimate and most challenging target imaginable. Really the only other structures in the world built to such a degree of protection, deep underground to survive the most powerful attacks, are a few US and Russian nuclear command and control bunkers from the Cold War. The US has been well aware of the layout of this facility for some time. We know that at very least, they had access to blueprints stolen by Israeli spies in 2018. They were also aware of the 2 ventilation shafts leading into the main structure, as seen in satellite imagery the US released from back in 2008. On Google, you'd have a really hard time seeing them, but they're very visible going back even further to 2009 before they camouflaged them. And these are the 2 spots that the US struck, pretty much the only weak point in the whole facility. I mean, you could build a deep underground bunker, but you still need ventilation. 6 bombs were dropped on each. The first one blew off the shaft's covers, while the rest were dropped right down the now exposed shafts, one after another, each causing even more damage. So now it's been 3 months. How does it look today? As you can see, like Natanz, new dirt paths appear and the impact points were covered up by early August. But again, since then, no obvious signs of additional activity here. And the rest of the complex is pretty much the same story. Some early signs of activity, but then nothing standing out as having changed from the 9th of August to the 22nd of September. No major signs of movement, clearing paths, dirt tracks from vehicles and trucks, no new vehicles parked nearby. In fact, they haven't even removed the dirt that they blocked the entrance tunnels with before the strike. The one exception being here, that shows some signs of earth being moved just outside the security perimeter. Old images from 2009 through 11 show what appear to be tanks and other equipment, possibly being put into a small underground bunker, that we see is then sealed over and made to look natural. And this is the part that they're currently excavating. But given the fact that it was outside the security perimeter, the fact that it was so obvious when they constructed it, along with the apparent lack of easy access, or any access in the decades since, it's unlikely to have been anything of utmost importance, such as nuclear material. So overall, it seems Iran has simply went out and assessed the damage, filled in a few holes to prevent further collapse, but has not made any major effort to repair or excavate these nuclear facilities. Iran does have other facilities that weren't hit though, which have shown some signs of activity. So it's also positive that Iran has moved on, and the lack of activity at these sites also gives the added appearance of not attempting to rebuild their nuclear program, potentially to avoid another strike.